You have a unique perspective here because not only have you debated against Kamala Harris, but you were once
808dragon.com.
Here because
About to
not
make some
only
rice.
have you debated against Kamala Harris, but you were once
I'm
a
gonna try
Democrat.
something
Now
new
you
rice.
support former President Trump, and you helped him with some of his debate prep. How do you
I ain't
think the
tried
evening
yet.
went? Did you see some of the things? Tonight, there were some heated exchanges over the issue of abortion. Trump himself has struggled to sort of define where he stands right now.
What we gotta do next?
How do you
We gotta
think
add some water.
that part of the debate?
I think he clarified and told the truth about a lot of things that Kamala Harris accused him of that were outright
We're gonna do this
lies.
old
She
school.
told the American people that he's trying to ban IVF, something that's personal to me because it's something that my husband and I, for years, tried to start our own family. For me, because it's something that my husband and I, for years, tried to start our own family through the use of IVF. It didn't work out for us, works out for a lot of families. President Trump was quick on the draw when that Supreme Alabama court ruled, and he immediately said, no, we have to protect IVF, and the Alabama state legislature took action.
This is some well
she
water.
continues to say things, trying to say he's trying to ban birth control. That is also 100% false. So President Trump, I think, did a good job in clarifying the truth after Kamala Harris continued to lob lie after lie at him, saying things that he stood for that frankly just are not true.
Well, the former president made some false claims too. He said that there were states that wanted to kill babies after they were born. We fact checked that a bunch of times, even prior to the debate. There is not a single state in this country that would allow that sort of thing. But I want to ask you about something else. He also made a pretty serious allegation that saying that he took a bullet to the head because of the way Democrats, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, have been talking about him, saying that he's a threat to democracy. You're a former Democrat. Do you think that Democrats are to blame, at least in part, for that assassination attack?
I'm so badass. Let's
the
see how this
FBI
rice
says
come
they
out.
don't know what the motive was in that attack.
There is no doubt in my mind that those who use such insightful rhetoric as calling Donald Trump the same as our modern-day Hitler, not once, not twice, but year after year after year after year, it doesn't take an FBI, it shouldn't take an FBI investigator to add 1 + 1 = 2. People always say, well, what would you have done if you were in a position where you could have stopped Hitler back during World War II? To think that any person watching them call Donald Trump today's modern-day Hitler wouldn't take it upon themselves to say, hey, maybe I should be that hero to go and take out this man who these people I see on television, who these powerful people in Washington are saying is our modern-day Hitler, then you're not actually living in the real world. There are cons me to know that it would lead to that very dangerous and tragic situation.
Former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, thank you for your time.
Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you. Let's head out, former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, thank you for your time.
Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you. Let's head out to, we're going to talk more on the issue of immigration right now. Go to ABC News contributor Maria Elena Salinas and ABC News national correspondent Maria Villarreal, who is at the border in El Paso right now. Thank you both for being here. We appreciate it. So from the start of the debate here, former President Trump attacked the Biden administration's policies on immigration. Let's take a listen to at least some of those exchanges.
They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that she and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous.
Dangerous.
Maria, let's start with you because we heard Trump there repeating some claims about a flood of people coming from prisons, jails, mental institutions, stealing American jobs. What should voters know about these claims?
You know, Whit, listen, we talked about this in the pre-show, that this would be his fallback because he feels very confident when he talks about immigration, very supported. But there is some issue, some concern with this, because a lot of what he talks about, some record numbers during the Biden administration of encounters with migrants at the border, health institutions and prisons. And however, that does not mean that they are coming from mental health institutions and prisons. In fact, there are no facts that actually prove that statement that he has continued to say. Some other points that definitely stuck out to me. Again, we've heard a lot of people referencing the comment he made from Ohio and how migrants are stealing pets and eating them. Again, we've had a number of people fact check that, and it is not true. I mean, and then the biggest one for us is when he talks about the influence of the presidential election and how migrants are being shipped to the United States in order for them to vote. Look, it is very clear there are laws on the books that say already that you have to be a U.S. citizen in order to vote. If you vote illegally, you will go to jail. So those laws are already in the books. So yes, while we did hear Trump talk a lot about immigration, we didn't really hear a lot of truth here. On the other side of it, I do want to point out that every time Kamala Harris was asked about immigration, we didn't hear what voters have continued to say they need. They wanted policy, they wanted facts, they wanted strategy for the future. I just don't think that we heard that from either candidate tonight on this particular issue, which is very big for voters.
And Maria Elena, let's bring you into this conversation. Recent polls suggest voters do trust Donald Trump over Kamala Harris on the issue of immigration. We've talked about that. Did Vice President Harris do an effective job outlining how her policies would be different from Biden? She's trying to walk a fine line here, being a supportive vice president while also being a candidate that
immigration, other than to accuse former President Trump of killing the bipartisan bill by convincing Republicans to simply not vote for it or not put it out on the floor. And what she did say was that she would sign that bipartisan bill once it was approved by Congress and would turn it into law. Of course, this is a bill that would limit the amount of migrants that could enter the country and put more agents at the border. But let me just say that it seems as if President Trump is running on demonizing immigrants and creating fear that they are criminals, killing Americans and eating cats and dogs, like Mireya mentioned. But on the issues that Latinos really care about most, the economy, the high cost of housing, she did spell out what she would do to improve living conditions, at least somewhat. And former President Trump, on the other hand, didn't really give any specifics other than saying that the economy under him would be bigger and better and that he would impose tariffs on foreign countries.
There you go, kids.
So when it comes to
Reached
the
a good
issues that
boil. Let it go for a minute or two.
there seem to be more specifics from VP Harris than from former President Trump. I think a lot of Latino voters out there would have liked to hear more on what Kamala Harris plans to do, and if she really is going to implement that double approach, which is tough on the border, but at the same time,
right now it
when
is
it comes to immigrants that are already living in this country.
8:46.
So that, I think, part
Maria,
is...
So we're meaning to be done skis by
we'll
like
stand by to hear
full
more
on
as the
by
campaign
9
continues.
ish.
Maria Elena Salinas and Maria Villarreal. Thanks to you both.
15 or
and
so
as I
minutes.
mentioned earlier, the economy, of course, one of the major points of interest for
And then
tonight's
fluff
debate.
it and then
So
go
here
from
to
there.
discuss more on that and how the candidates did on that issue, Elizabeth Schulze is joining us. So, Elizabeth, what answers on the economy specifically stood out to you the most?
Well, and Whit, the very first question of the debate was on the economy. Vice President Harris was asked if she believes Americans are better off now than they were 4 years ago. And frankly, as you pointed out, she didn't answer the question. She instead pivoted to talk about, in broad brushstrokes, some of the policies that she's highlighting: small business tax credits, down payment assistance for home buyers, an expanded child tax credit. Notably, some of the policies she highlighted on the economy front, Whit, were distinct from what we've seen under President Biden. She is really trying to distance herself in some ways from President Biden's economic record, because we know that this has been a liability for the Biden administration. At times, we did see former President Trump attack the Biden administration, and including Vice President Harris's record on the economy. He also doubled down on his plan for more tariffs. But I was also struck with that former President Trump did not go after Vice President Harris more on the issue of inflation. This is one that we know he had some of those personal attacks. When you talk to voters, what they want to know is the answer to that question. They want to answer, are they better off financially now than they were 4 years ago? And will they be better? They want to answer, are they better off financially now than they were 4 years ago? And will they be better off in 4 years too?
And Elizabeth, also, we mentioned that ABC News Ipsos polling earlier that said that voters trusted Donald Trump's ability to handle the economy more than they did for Vice President Harris. How would you grade each of them making their cases today? I mean, you gave us a little bit of a breakdown there, but specifically, I think a lot of voters wanted and were eager for more specifics. Did we get that tonight?
If we're trying to give a grade on specific front, in fact, much more of this was about presenting this vision from the future from both sides. So we've heard Vice President Harris talk about the opportunity economy for the future from both sides. So we've heard Vice President Harris talk about the opportunity economy. She didn't get into a lot of the details about how some of those proposals, for example, would be paid for. On the other hand, we heard former President Trump really tout his own economic record, but he also ignored the fact that a lot of his policies have questions about how they'll be paid for. I mean, just broadly speaking, Whit, not a lot of mention on taxes when we know that that is a big issue for voters and will be a huge issue here in Washington next year. Both of them tried to talk about the economy in broad brushstrokes, but did not get into a lot of those specifics that voters, when you ask them, they want to know, what is the government, what is the president going to do for me?
Yeah, no taxes on tips. Remember, both candidates were talking about that, and yet tonight we heard almost nothing about it. So exactly. Elizabeth, thank you. We appreciate it. All right, we showed you Donald Trump earlier here in the spin room following the debate, and while he was here with us, Kamala Harris attended a debate watch party talking to supporters. Here is part of what she had to say.
We got some work to do because, listen, I think that we think today was a good day, and it kind of was. But we have got to win Pennsylvania. And we are going to win Pennsylvania.
Of course, Pennsylvania, a critical state, could be make or break, especially for Kamala Harris. Joining us now with more is Terry Moran. Terry, give us some context on what we saw here tonight. Trump, again, said, quote, talking about abortion, for example, that every legal scholar, every Democrat wanted abortion to be a matter for the states. Now, obviously, we know that that's not true, but who is he speaking to when he continues to say that?
Well, he's trying to reassure voters. Look, he's a very savvy politician.
I didn't even know about that whole toolkit.
Has been demonstrated, as he said tonight, in state after state, to be a problem for Republicans. So he's trying to distance himself from what the Supreme Court did in overturning Roe versus Wade. And the best formula that he can come up with is that now people get to vote on it state by state. That's what everybody to have a say in their future. The problem is, and the counterattack from Kamala Harris was very effective. Yet this is an issue, you know, far from Roe versus was very effective. Yet this is an issue, you know, far from Roe versus Wade being unpopular. Almost 2/3 of Americans, sometimes polls showed almost up to 70% of Americans supported Roe versus Wade. It's hard to get 70% of Americans
cool things you can do.
Anything. And yet,
the lag isn't so bad right now.
Supported. They felt that this was a settlement they could live with. The Republican Party, of course, very different, and now he's stuck with it, and he's trying to find a way to get out of it by saying, well, everybody wanted Roe versus Wade overturned, and now everybody's happy that they're voting about it. Polls show that's not true.
Terry, what about the issue of election integrity? Again, the former president would not acknowledge that he lost the 2020 election, also saying that, you know, when he was pressed multiple times from David Muir on whether he had any regrets about January 6th. He said no, he had nothing to do with it.
I almost
What
feel
do you
like
think
I should
voters
like
are going to make of
replay
that
video while I'm
as they
waiting.
head to vote once again in November?
Seriously.
That's really an issue that's baked in. Donald Trump has successfully, in the Republican Party, cemented the notion that there was something wrong with the 2020 election. He believes it was completely stolen, and there are lots of people who believe utter fabrications about mules and stolen votes and things like that. None of that evidence ever held up in any court of law. And it wasn't just because Trump was judged not to have standing. It's because judges looked at the evidence. Trump asked the Attorney General of the United States to order every single U.S. attorney in every single district in America to look for evidence of voter fraud. They came back, they said there isn't.
Okay, I just uncovered the rice and just to check on it. It's doing alright. It's doing alright. So I had some issues earlier today with this BS. And then there's another good video of a snake trying to get all up in my... So things look kind of funky right there, that's all I know. It's a little late there, but things are working okay right now. Moving forward. I gotta go and get that other video of the snake dude now that things are working okay. Seriously. Oh, there you go.